Hello. I just want to really thank you for coming is the first thing, and I want to take a moment just, as Daphne said, to feel the energy of the room. Because I'm always humbled when I come up and, I always feel privileged and, as I kind of come through them doors, you would know what I'm like. I feel smaller and smaller and smaller, and I'm so happy that I feel like that, because that always reminds me that I'm going in the right direction, and internally this is the right stuff. I don't let my head get taken, or any of this stuff, and that reminds me of all the work I've done and still have to continue to do, and gratitude has always been for me an absolute cornerstone of that. And every time that I seek that and I know that that is there, I'm comforted to know that everything is okay. It really is. And so thank you, Daphne, is the first thing. Thank you, Cole. Wonderful human being that Cole is. He really is. Daphne DeLucci, Taj, Margaret, Robin, all the other wonderful people in here. Ladies and gentlemen, I know there are many interesting, giving people, dignitaries, professionals in this audience. Thank you very much for coming, really, to listen, to listen and, and to share this with us. Another thing is, I never prepare speeches. I really don't have to. I have a piece of paper, I have key words, there might be 5, and that's it. It's just to remind me of what I will talk around, because I don't need to prepare a speech, because I have all this stuff in me, and it's really easy because it is my life and it is the authenticity of it. So what I want to speak about is I want to speak about change, and I want to speak about togetherness, and I want to speak about transformation, and I want to speak about collective responsibility. Now, you're probably a little bit aware of my history, some of the things I was involved in, and I am fully accountable for that, and we are as human beings, and it was what you see on there. I was a senior criminal. I come from East London. I was brought up in my formative years in Belfast in a war zone. There was a civil war raging at that time. I come to this country when I was 9. That is maybe, I really played that role. I ended up in prison, for a long time, as I should have done. And I am happy standing here today that I have paid for all of the things I have been involved in, as I should have done. Sometimes maybe, I even feel I may have paid twice, but that's okay. And that's a good thing. So, I went to prison for a long time, and, I was category A, so it was high security prison, and all that stuff. So I relate this because I really had the experience of that life from the top to the bottom, and what it is to be a person like that, and all of the stuff that comes with that. I cover that quickly because that is, I suppose the middle bit, I've done so many interviews, TV, radio, journalists, they all ask the same thing. What was the changing point? What was the pivotal point? What was the epiphany? But, the truth is, there were many, and, I wanted out of that life for a long, long time. But, I've come to realise that human beings, all of us, by very suggestion of what we do, it is about growth. It's about improvement. All living things, when the conditions are right, they stretch out, they want to expand, they want to grow strong, they want to learn, they want to improve. This is true of all living things, especially human beings. So, I always wanted to change. Daphne, you're so intuitive, when you say about the heart, I mean, yes, you know, I mean, this is definitely a, you know, a factor. And, but you know, I've learned with human beings, certainly for me, you know, and many people I have coached from all different levels of society, is that we need opportunity, courage, strength, support, direction. Usually we need timing. All of these things must come together at the same time to really fuse together in the correct way to affect real change. You know, and this was the same for me. I wanted out of that life for a long time. But really, when it come to the time, if you want to call it that, epiphany, there was a moment that was very, very clear in my mind. And it wasn't that I wanted out of that life, it was what I wasn't prepared to do anymore. There was things I was not prepared to do anymore. You know, one was I was not prepared to hurt the people around me that I loved, or other people, you know, by my actions, my thoughts, my deeds, by the people I was hanging around with, the energy, all of that culture, all of that stuff. I wasn't prepared to do that no more. I would not do that no more, and that was the line with that. You know, I wasn't prepared to go on with how miserable and guilty and shameful and all of these things that I felt about myself, knowing that I was worth much more. I wasn't prepared to do that no more. And, you know, the truth is there was another thing, there was a third thing, and I wasn't prepared to be put down by people, places or things who, you know, who kept saying or showing signs or insinuating that they was much better than me or I was beneath them when I knew that I wasn't. And I wasn't prepared to do that no more either. So, you know, that was the thing. But, you know, if I was to narrow it, you know, because there's a real middle bit here, because people think, how could someone who traveled through so much darkness go into so much light and improve so quickly? What is the middle bit? Now, you know, the middle bit is a very painful, emotive middle bit, you know, is the easy answer. And it is about improvement. And it is, you know, I've realised that anyone in this life, you know, and I'm privileged enough to meet many successful people now who do wonderful things. Is there anyone really in this life, all the forces are against us anyway, I've learnt this, and anyone who really does anything of any note that is exceptional or pioneering or meteoric or you know, any of these things stands out, you know, in a wonderful illuminating way. You know, they have to cross all the seas. They are ridiculed usually. They are shunned. You know, they have a hard time. They're put down. They are stabbed in the back, as we call it. You know, they're tripped up. They're, you know, all of these things. You know, I mean, for me, and I've learned this is really part of the journey, and it's all about the journey because it's the journey that forges us. And you know, I'm also privileged because one of the wonderful things, I mean, the first thing is, you know, Daphne, to me, I'm just a device. You know, I always see myself, you know, as just a conduit, really, a person, and I've always kept to that because that is all I am. I definitely don't go for the special thing, do I? I don't go for that because that's rubbish, utter rubbish. You know, why would we be? You know, maybe, you know, when we improve many people's lives or we build wonderful things, that can be called special. It's a funny word, special. I don't really buy into it in that kind of a way. But so, you know, that's me. But you know, one of the things that, you know, that is a privilege for me now is when I think of the pain of the journey, when I think of how hard it is, when I think about how closed society is to independent thoughts, how they pigeonhole and categorize people so strictly and succinctly, how it's so unforgiving, really is. You know, one of the things is that I've realised that we really can be anything that we want to be. I mean, society is so good at saying, no, you're too old. No, you don't have the right education. No, you're not pretty enough. Or the great one, you don't have enough money. You didn't go to a fancy school and you don't hang out with our clique or whatever it is. Now, this is all rubbish. It really is. And one of the things, I suppose, in my transformation was seeing through unraveling the lies. I was always a seeker of truth. I still am. But then you come to a point of development and you realize that we will never know the whole truth anyway. The truth is the truth. We don't need to pursue it. Really where it's at is unraveling the lies. That changed the whole world for me. Because when I started to unravel the lies, then I started to ask the right questions. And when I asked the right questions, of course, I was getting the right answers. And when I got the right answers, of course, I wanted to improve. And I put one foot in front of the other. I continue to do that, today. And I'm always open to learn. I'm always open to grow, and I'm lucky enough now to have had great teachers, had great wisdom, and for a long time I surround myself with only quality people who are guided by the strength of their principles, who are very visionary but directed in the right way, and that is a great thing. But two extremes really. I mean, Carl Mahay is a wonderful person. And it is very, very fair to say, obviously, at this point, that for two human beings, he went from the bottom to the top of the police force. I'm sure he will tell you more about that, all the way up to gold commander, boardroom level. And I had the life that I had, and I went from the bottom, and I went up to the top of that. Them choices that I made as well. So, we really had that. But the thing about it is that on our internal journey of discovery as human beings, we knew there was more, and we wanted to do more. And when we did me, a few years ago at an event, there was something there, and it took us a while, but we went on. We have an unbelievable chemistry, an unbelievable relationship now. But the main crux of this is that for two people who could not have been further apart in their choices, lifestyles, and what they have done, after a journey of discovery, a metamorphosis, whatever you want to call it, when we come together, there was no judgment. There was no judgment. Here we are today. Which is proof of that. And that's a wonderful thing. The more it's massive, because it gives so much scope for everything and everyone. Because it really is living history and living proof that we are much more than what has separated us in the past, or how we have been judged in the past, or what people have said about us in the past, whether we've had a bad relationship, whether we've been to prison, whether we've made bad choices, whether we've been in a bad marriage, had bad finances, bankruptcy, whatever. Because, the nature of this, by its very suggestion, is growth. So, one of the things, and more is always revealed to me all the time, really, and I'm very, very happy for that. It's that conduit thing, and I'm like a sieve. I'm looking for the jewels, I'm looking for the right stuff, and I get very good at finding them now and knowing what's right or what's a fake, right? And when I get more, I realise that, there is so much that we want to improve, with schools, prison system. There's even political ramifications here in different ways, certain bodies, and we are unbelievably happy, and unbelievably humbled. I know I speak for Carl Mahay as well, to be at the point that we are as human beings to be able to do good. I mean, Carl is a wonderful human being, he really is. And I thought on the way down here, because stuff comes, and I was reminded of the last couple of days about that young man, who sadly lost his life. You know, I mean, that is just, it's just a tragedy. Really, there's no words to explain such a waste. You know, and then I recalled my own kind of childhood and experiences, and I thought of certain streets where I lived in London. You know, one was in Hackney, it's called Murder Mile. You know, and I remember there'd be 12 murders a year on there, just on that one road. And I used to think to myself, I mean, how disgusting is that? But, you know, I mean, you know, there are forces here, and there are factors, and there are, you know, intervening influences, you know, here. But that is all part of it as well, I realise, for us to grow and, you know, and challenge this stuff as human beings, to decode it and find the right ways forward. You know, find the right ways forward. You know, and this is one of the things that I know that me and Cole are certainly doing, is trying to find the, you know, the right ways forward. And, you know, there is the human condition. I mean, I say about the human condition a lot, because one of the things I had to do with all the experiences that I had to go through, and the learnings, and all the stuff I had to go through in prison, and the bad choices I made, and the pain, and, you know, having to deal with the shame and the guilt from victims, and all of that stuff, all of that journey was it's, you know, it's a human condition. But what I had to do was I had to fortify myself in a way with frameworks. I mean, I call it internal engineering. People don't get that. I'm sure some of you will. But what I had to basically do, I'll narrow this really quickly because it is very key, is I had to fortify. I had to lock things away inside myself that was not serving me, that needed to be locked away, that was unhealthy. And I mean, someone once said, you know, we never conquer our demons, we only rise above them. I mean, in many ways, I get that, that's true. But, you know, you lock them away so they, you know, they can never return, you know, and their voice is quiet. But, you know, I've had to fortify myself with internal engineering, and I don't move that for no one. They're very healthy, strict boundaries that I've lived my life by, and I add to them only with beautiful things, only with good things. And this is a big part of the secret, if you want to call it that. It's not a secret. It's just a thing that I've had to do, and I hope that it's valuable. I'm sure in some way to some people that it is, because for me it works. You know, I'm living proof of that. And, you know, it does give me a different way of seeing the world, you know, and interacting. But again, you know, I'm just lucky to be around wonderful, wonderful people. And that is the real, you know, the real key of it, you know. And I remove negative, unhealthy influences from my life. And I populate it only with the right people, of the right principles, who are going in the right direction, who share what I know to be, you know, the right stuff. You know, the right stuff. None of us are perfect. I mean, that's for sure. But it needs to be very good. And it needs to be very, very consistent. You know, another thing that we want to do at Two Extremes is we're doing a national tour, aren't we? So, you know, we're very privileged, you know, and I can tell you a little bit about the strategy, you know, because it is what it is and it's going to help. Is we're going to do a city a month. So, you know, we're here today thanks to the wonderful collaboration with Margaret, you know, and Robin, you know, and everyone else here from the UPF. You know, and let me just say that of the wonderful work they do, absolutely wonderful work. The things they are engaged in, you know, are breathtaking, trying to make things better. For me, I've learned that all I wanted to do was do this as well. Is do this in some way that I could. And that still drives me very, very much. So, but what we're doing is, you know, we're doing a city a month. So we're here with a few lovely people. We're going to Birmingham next, and then we are booking to do this in Parliament in March, and then the idea is. It has to be confirmed, but you know, all this is lined up. Glasgow, Edinburgh, Bristol, and then we'll go on from there. But part of the thing of it is, as well, also is, we're engaging media and PR there because we want wonderful leaders, in business, media, humanitarian initiatives, community leaders, people, change makers, because we know that will propagate a better way to get the message out and engage with the right people to formulate some kind of stuff that will make things better. It's as simple as that. And this is what this is the idea. We're already doing that. We're going to be forming. We're forming now workshops, courses, stuff like that, which we can align, to help the community. And we've talked about this, haven't we, Cole? Specifically, we think the best audience really would be teenagers, but anyone, we want to kind of get to the root to this too, to help before people get disillusioned maybe, or there are a whole variety of things, and we want to get to the root of it and help and show options, show a different way to do things, offer other ways to do things, other ways, to think, to realise, to engage, to realise that there are beautiful people out there. They have greatness and talent within them, and if they do the right things, anything is possible. Now, I'm going to leave you now. I just thought, I thought there was one thing. I remember this question of, there's so many books, loads of stuff written about it, where they say, what is the secret of a successful and meaningful life? I mean, everyone talks about it, right? So there was an academic study, Brian, which I thought was really clever, and I see that and I remember it. So, I'm going to leave you with that. But they ascertained there was 5 things to this secret, right? And there was what you do, who you do it for, what you give them, what experience they have by that, and how you prove their life as a result. What you do, who you do it for, what you give them, what experience they have by that, and how you improve their life by that. Now, only 2 of them things are about us. 3, I'm very happy to see, are about others. So that's just a wonderful thing. And really, thank you for listening. I hope I've been of some value. Thank you.